You need a weapon that can have the ability to fire 20, 30, 40, 50, 120 shots from that weapon, whether it's a 9mm pistol or whether it's a rifle, is ridiculous. I'm continuing to push to eliminate the sale of those things.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Death by Tyranny podcast. I just kind of wanted to make a follow-up video. For one, I did get in some new lighting. Hopefully, you guys can tell a difference and that it adds to the quality of the podcast for you guys. I know what I was using before was pretty low budget, and it was kind of affecting the white balance on my camera here. So hopefully that adds to the viewing pleasure for you guys, because honestly that's why I'm here. I am here hopefully enough to make something that is worth you guys listening to, and hopefully that I can talk about stuff that you can use to better your life, better make decisions politically. Of course, I'm not telling you to, I'm not trying to push my religion on anybody, but there are things that I could maybe tell you that might make your life a little bit better. And sometimes people go to the voting booths and they don't know who to vote for, and they just mark down the ballot. And then they realize when that person wins that maybe that was the wrong thing to do. So hopefully the next time you can go to the ballot box, you're a little bit more educated. And I know in today's economy, a lot of people have to work. I have to work a lot of overtime myself. I don't make any money from this podcast. In fact, I've probably put too much money into the podcast just because I don't want to put something out there that is lower quality. I have officially reached out to people. Hopefully they will get back to me. I do enjoy AIM Surplus. It is a gun store, gun distribution online. You can find them at aimsurplus.com. They have a lot of stuff that you don't normally find in your average gun stores or your local mom and pops type of stores. And they have recently started some kind of a podcast. And I looked into it and seen what all they have involved. And so I kind of wanted to step up the game from there. And so I reached out to them, and hopefully they will get back with me. And I don't know if maybe they can use some of my equipment, or maybe I can in some way help them and they can teach me things that I don't know. I have also been commenting on other podcasts, trying to get the Death by Tyranny podcast name out there, because eventually the goal of this podcast was always to try to bring not so much conservatives, but just people who believe in the American dream and the Constitution and want to protect their Second Amendment right, and try to figure out a way to fight some of the tyrannical government overreach that we are seeing now. So hopefully I'm at a point where everything looks good, sounds good. I mean, obviously I'm doing this in a mudroom. You're gonna hear crickets, and I live in a rural area, and that's just something I can't get away from right now. I will try to do some sound treatment later on. I'm tapped out. I have to use the finances that I have to continue to support my family. And in the last podcast I had spoke, I don't know when I will be able to go back to work, even though I am fine, because my wife tested positive for the coronavirus. And I don't think they are going to compensate me for myself not being able to go back to work, which is kind of messed up in itself. So for now, if I can't go to work for that day, I will try to put a podcast out. And if there are no relevant topics, then maybe I can talk about some things that maybe you guys are just unaware of. Or maybe you can give me some feedback and we can try to make the show a little bit better, just in case some of these people were to reach back out to me, that I didn't look like such a low budget dummy. I have used the tag format on Instagram to tag Dan Holloway. He is probably on my, if I have a top 5 people I would love to get on my podcast or to get on any of his podcasts, because he has several. He owns a media company. He is one of the people I would love to talk to, just because he's not conservative, he's not liberal. He has done great things for this country when he was in the military. He has 3 different degrees. He is a very intelligent person. He is very open-minded, but he is also aggressive when it comes to things that he disagrees with, and he tries to do the best to give back to the community and fight against things that he believes is true evil in the world. A lot of the things that I have gotten as far as the border crisis and what is going on down there that you're not hearing about, and the mainstream media, has come from Dan Holloway or some of his podcast, like the Drinking Bros podcast on YouTube. They're on Spotify. They're everywhere. Now they have different shows on that channel, American Party, as well as some others. And he is very outspoken about some of the programs that are help funding these illegal immigrants coming across the border, as well as he has some insider information from working with the government. And he is by no means a bootlicker. I mean, of course, he supports military and veterans and gives back to them when they need help. They do fundraisers during Christmas time. They're a great organization. It's a great media company. It's a great listen to just to pass the time. And the reason why I wanted to start this podcast off with something like that is to say that just because you hear about some of the insider drama arguments going on, that doesn't mean that we have to be like the left and we have to do this cancel culture bullshit. We can disagree with some of the great leaders in the community that are still doing good things, and just because they get a little heated or may say something doesn't mean we need to cut them off. And if anything, we need to reach out to them, and if we have fuck it, I'm not even going to use that word. Sorry. If we have, I keep trying to use it. If we have questions that are very, targeted towards something that they have said in the media or during a podcast where they might have caught some heat for instance, Dan Holloway had called Alex Jones a piece of shit. I guess some Proud Boys had gotten some information from the Black Rifle Coffee employees and doxed them, and I'm sure that wasn't pleasant. And if I had time and money invested in a company like Black Rifle, and my friends worked for that, and I knew that they were genuinely doing good work, and a group attacked them and dox them, and we know what kind of damage that can do, especially with people like Antifa out there. So I understand his frustration, and maybe it wasn't the right thing to say, But I also don't believe that that's a good enough reason just to discredit the rest of what Dan Holloway has to say beyond that. And then surpassing Dan Holloway, you have Lucas Botkins of T-Rex Arms, and he has always been outspoken about his morals and his beliefs. And he has said numerous times, if you don't like what he believes in, then feel free to go to other companies. And I completely agree with that. There needs to be more companies that are not on the fence. There are tons of companies that we support right now that are in the fight to silence the conservative voice and to put more evil Democrats in power, and we are funding that. But we won't know that because those companies aren't outspoken. So people like Lucas Botkins should be held up and praised for that. Yes, he is against gay marriage. Yes, he doesn't believe in that. That isn't part of his religion. But he doesn't just disregard that fact so he can make money. He said it, and if you disagree with it and you don't want to fund an organization that doesn't believe in gay marriage, then feel free to buy holsters and your firearm accessories from somewhere else. And you have a lot of companies like Mod Light that came out and said that they disagreed with the statements that Lucas Botkins said, and that this isn't a good thing. We are all in this fight together. They're trying to take all of our guns and all of our freedoms. It doesn't matter whether you believe in gay marriage or not. It doesn't matter if you're having a little tiff with Alex Jones or not. And I understand that these people have very loyal followers. But understand that Alex Jones won't win this fight by himself. Dan Holloway won't win this fight by himself. And the initial reason I started this podcast was to point some of this infighting out. Of course, it will always be to point out what the government is doing and all the tyranny that is going on, hence the name Death by Tyranny. But the fact of the matter is a lot of these people, want to take Dakota Myers, for instance. He makes a post on Instagram and he talks about how people who never served are LARPing in their backyard and live in their mother's basement, and this isn't true. I don't live in my mother's basement, but I do train with firearms. I try to educate myself as much as I can. In fact, I don't have any other hobbies up until the point where I started this podcast other than trying to better myself in self-defense and firearm training. Does that make me a LARPer? Well, in some cases, I'm sure it does. If you are not in the physical act of kicking in a door in Afghanistan and you're training on our soil and not doing what you're training to do, then you are live action role playing. That is training. But he said it in he meant to be disrespectful when he said it. And then they did a podcast. Dakota Myers does a podcast with Dan Holloway, and they talked about it. And of course, Dan Holloway doubled down, Dakota Myers doubled down, and maybe he was talking about somebody specific. Maybe there are people out there that don't know what the hell they're doing, that are taking people's money and training them the wrong way. And if that's the case, good for him. But he should have named those people, and what he did was wrong. And in that podcast, you can hear that Dan Holloway disagrees with him. You can hear that Dan Holloway believes that normal citizens should own night vision. They should own AR-15s. They should own tanks. And then you have people like Tim Kennedy that believe in red flag laws and believe that you should be, the government should be allowed to take your weapons from them if they think, not that you have done something, but they think that you may have. And that's not right. But these are just conversations that we need to have with each other. And the Second Amendment community and the conservative community, this isn't a reason to cancel these businesses. You know, we live in a capitalist country, and that's a good thing. The more money that Black Rifle makes, the better. That will trickle down. They obviously care about the Second Amendment, or they wouldn't make videos where they have guns and show beautiful women and, fly the American flag. Now, of course, they are not going to be able to censor what they say all the time. And some things are going to be taken out of context. And they do own a large company, and they can't control every voice in that company. Now, did they handle the situation right? Probably not. But there has to be podcast and people willing to interview those people that will ask them without trying to put them on the defensive. And that's my goal. Hopefully we can get some insider dialogue going, where maybe one day, and I'm a small channel, so it may not ever happen, but hopefully I can have people like Evan Hafer from Black Rifle and Dan Holloway and Lucas Botkins on. And I know if you asked them personally and they only had their 10 seconds to do an interview, what they thought about what they said, they would probably say they didn't really give a shit about what people thought, because they know they're doing right. But that doesn't mean that there aren't hundreds of people that look up to these guys that deserve a longer, more thought out answer than what has been given. And I would love to give them that opportunity, because more so than the Democrats and the left and this crazy environment that we live in right now, is we have too much infighting on our own side. And it's not doing us any good. And for the people disavowing violence, that's where it's inevitably going to end up, unless we can stop the infighting and all come together and have a mass group of people that are willing to do something peacefully. We can't have mass disobedience on 20 different things where 100 people are not doing one and 100 people are not doing other. What that's going to allow the government and the left and the Democrats to do is it's going to allow them to pick us off one by one. Yes, I could go put on my plate carrier right now, get an AR-15, and I could go to the Capitol and demand what they're doing is wrong, and if they don't change their ways, be willing to die right then and there. But that's not going to do any good. I'm going to be one person, and it will be one life lost. And that's what they want. They want to separate us. They want this infighting, because they know if that's the case, then that's what they're going to do. They're going to pick us off one by one. That's what they've been doing with gun bans and gun control. It's one gun at a time, and it's going to be one gun at a time, one person at a time, until there's nobody left to fight. And we have to stop this. We have to come together. And I know even some of these people that I'm talking about probably have no desire to have these conversations. That's too bad. If I had enough pull in the podcast and YouTube community, I would be demanding that these people had interviews. And if not with myself, because I can't demand somebody come on my show, but at least demand them come on to an interview or a podcast and explain themselves. You have Corey from Soup Def, who is constantly dogging on Lucas from T-Rex Arms because he is a Christian, and Corey doesn't believe that we should be pushing Christianity with guns, because there are people that believe in the Second Amendment that aren't Christian, and he thinks that it's a turnoff. That's a conversation we can have. But there's no reason you need to dog anybody about it. Just say that you disagree. because I've also heard him say that he thinks that T-Rex Arms does a tremendous amount of good when it comes to normal citizens owning things that's not normal. 5 years ago, owning a suppressor was not normal. Now, if you go on Instagram, there are tons of people with suppressors. 5 years ago, people didn't have body armor in their safes and in their trucks. That just wasn't a thing. And what you've seen is when it started to get popular, you've seen places, and there still are places like Maine and New York that are trying to ban those things because they don't want normal citizens to own that. Well, there has to be leaders that come out and normalize that. And T-Rex Arm has done a great job. So whether you agree with them politically or morally or their religion, that doesn't matter. What they're doing for the Second Amendment community is huge. And quite frankly, they are doing more than anybody else. And they should be praised for that, and everything else can be a conversation on the side. Because arming every able-bodied citizen with a firearm and then putting out free content so they know how to use those firearms safely, that is huge. And then they invest millions of dollars in buying and doing the research on body armor that is affordable yet effective and not trash like you see spread all over Facebook. They developed their own plate carriers so they could lower the price so it's something that everybody can afford. That is huge. So honestly, there is no reason to cancel T-Rex Arms. There's only reasons to praise them. And if you want to disagree with them on their morals and their political views and have a conversation with them. But do not go on Instagram. Do not make a YouTube video saying don't buy their products. We need to cancel these people because you are no better than the left at that point. And quite frankly, some of the interviews post the PR nightmare that Black Rifle Coffee is in right now, I have heard them say things and double down with things that quite frankly piss me off. But I'm not going to cancel them. I'm not a big coffee drinker anyways, but I've not even stopped watching their content because I know when it comes to what we need to do to stay together as civilians and to stay prepared and to stay educated, Black Rifle Coffee is still doing way more good than they are doing bad. And the bad that they are doing are little comments here and there. And the donations, I mean, it doesn't matter. Their political views and what they say in private, and if they do a New York Times piece where they switch some things around, I mean, the New York Times knew what they were doing with Black Rifle. They knew that they were going to cause controversy inside of that community. They knew that they were going to take customers, and they knew how to word questions for them to hurt Black Rifle as a company. And it worked. It worked. There is very few circumstances that I have seen in this community where somebody has lied or done something so evil that it was worth just disassociating people's selves with the brand. I mean, that does happen. If you come out and say you're this, Navy SEAL, airborne, sniper elite person, and you're charging people $1,500 a class, and you never served a day in the military, then yes, we need to get those kind of people out of the community. These are vultures that are trying to hurt the community. But these little statements taken out of context here and there, and then forcing these people into a corner, I mean, of course they're going to double down. They have a multi-million-dollar corporation to defend, and they have a lot of employees that count on them. But these are not our enemies. These are great allies to the movement. And if we keep canceling these people, these are the people that actually have financial stability to be able to help us. I can't gather thousands and thousands of people to go protest outside the Capitol. I can't, do things like that. But you know who can? T-Rex Arms. You know who can? Black Rifle Coffee. So we have to stop. You are really, really burning bridges to allies that we just can't afford to burn those bridges. Now, some of the politicians, that's a different story, because we've seen politicians say that they have been on our side before and flip-flopped in a heartbeat. And it's actually too many people to name. And I don't understand why it's so hard to forgive companies like T-Rex Arms and Black Rifle and people like Dan Holloway when we have people that are on our side that worship the ground Trump walks on when he did nothing for the 2A community. In fact, he hurt the 2A community. Some of the fights that we are fighting today with the ATF is only possible because of Trump. But we forgave him because he did more good than evil, and we still back him. So why can't we do that with these small people? And I'm not saying small as in stature, but you know what I mean. They're not as publicly recognized as President Trump. We have to stop with the infighting, and we have to come up with a better plan. Because if we don't do that, then at some point violence will become the only option. And when violence becomes the only option, it's going to be the same scenario. It's going to be one of us at a time. And when that happens, you know what they're going to do to each one of us? They're going to pick us off. They're going to do a hit piece in the news, and all of our friends and family are going to think that we're some incel in a basement that worshiped the devil and was anti-government, and they're going to make us look like the bad guy. And that's another reason why we should all be doing videos like this, because there might come a day where it's inevitable that some of us have to go out that way. Well, don't you want something there that maybe your children or your friends or your family can look back on and say, hey, he was a good person. He was just trying to unite some of the conservative values and the American dream back together and make people proud and to be a gun owner and learn responsibly how to use that firearm, and to teach people that the greatest ability you have is the right and the power to defend life. But instead, we are too busy going through our phones and looking at people that are on our side and trying to make them enemies. It's not working, guys. We have too many enemies that have a lot more money, a lot more resources, and quite frankly, if the numbers are correct, we're outnumbered anyways. We keep talking about, oh, I'm glad we're on the side with the guns and the people who know how to use the right bathroom, but I don't know if that's the case anymore. According to this last election, there was over 10 million more people that was on the side of Biden. Biden has never been pro-gun. He has never been pro-2A. He has come out and said that he not only wants to ban assault weapons, which isn't a thing, by the way, and said that he wants to ban pistols in general. And if they treat gun control like they're treating the pandemic, they do not go by the science. If you banned assault weapons, but yet 85% of the deaths and murder and suicides are done by handguns, what good is it going to do to ban assault weapons? And the rest of that percentage isn't assault weapons. Rifles in general is something like 5 to 2%. And of that 2% doesn't mean that it was an AR-15 or an AK. That's just all rifles. It could have been a bolt action rifle. And you're never going to get those statistics, but yet you still have all these Democrat politicians trying to push banning these styles of weapons. You have states that actually have done so, and it has done nothing. And until they banned all the guns, it won't do anything. And even then, it won't do anything because there are too many guns in America. If you banned all guns from all citizens that obey the law, there are still enough guns for every criminal to have 10. Probably more than that. And then it will be a slaughter after that. And that's what they're doing with the pandemic. They're giving you certain stats to scare you, so you give up things, and we're not even paying attention to that right now. We're more concerned with fighting with people that may or may not agree with some politician that is kind of a Democrat, so now we don't want to buy their coffee. Or we're more concerned with canceling and not carrying products of a company that comes out against homosexuality because the religion is against that. Get out of here. Knock it off. That's why people came to America. That's why this country was founded. That's what this country is about. It is about the fact that you have the right to believe whatever you want to believe. And if these people believe something different than what you believe, but they are doing huge, huge impacts to help your movement, then focus on that. And hopefully some of this, now that I have some pretty decent lighting and equipment, I am going to start promoting the channel, and hopefully I can get somebody on here other than myself to show you that it's not just me. And until then, I will continue to bring hot topics and let you know what the Democrats and the Biden administration is doing to limit and take away your freedoms. If you think the lighting looks a little bit better, I'd appreciate you giving a thumbs up on the video. Please share this with your friends. If you have friends that run YouTube channels, or you're in touch with somebody that has some movement in some of the communities, share it with them. I appreciate everything that you guys do. And if the only thing you do is watch it, I appreciate that too. And if you want to watch it and there's something that you didn't like or something that I didn't cover that you want me to cover, let me know. Put a comment on the video. Some of you know me personally. Shoot me a DM on Facebook. Hit me up on Instagram. We can grow this channel, and the larger this channel grows, the more we can help this infighting stop, and the more we can spread the word of how these left, crazy, communist, socialist psychopaths are trying to take over our country. But honestly, I really just wanted to show off the lights and give you guys something to think about. So you guys stay safe. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.